Tragic accident on Soesdijk-Linden Highway claims 2 lives. A devastating accident on Tuesday has resulted in the deaths of 2 men, Brian Manaharlal, 49, and Asham Sultan, 32, along the Soesdijk-Linden Highway. According to police reports, Manaharlal, a resident of Agricola, East Bank Demerara, was attending to motor lorry GAG 3120 parked on the eastern side of the roadway due to mechanical issues at approximately 15:15 hours. Sultan, who resided in Zeelugt, East Bank Essequibo, was driving motor car PRR 5367 southbound along the eastern drive lane when, allegedly at a high speed, he lost control of the vehicle. The car collided with Manaharlal, who was standing at the rear of the lorry, before crashing into the rear of the lorry itself. Both men sustained multiple injuries and were pronounced dead at the scene by a doctor from the Linden Hospital complex. Their bodies have been transported to the Linden Hospital mortuary, where they await post-mortem examinations. Investigations into the accident are ongoing as authorities seek to determine the exact circumstances surrounding this tragic event. Advancement in regularization of Skull City squatting area. The regularization process for the Skull City squatting area is making significant progress, with the Ministry of Housing already allocating lots to 33 households. The remaining allocations are currently in process, according to local government minister Priya Manikchand. During a visit to the community on Wednesday, Manikchand announced that a cadastral plan has been lodged in the registry, and preparations for the block title are underway, with completion anticipated in the first quarter of 2026. She also met with the contractor responsible for ongoing roadworks, who assured her that the necessary drainage infrastructure would be completed by the end of January 2026. Additionally, plans are in place for engineers to assess the feasibility of developing a park and vendor strip on available land in the community. Throughout her visit, Minister Manikchand engaged with residents, addressing their concerns and evaluating the environmental and infrastructural challenges affecting the area. The regularization initiative aims to provide residents in informal settlements with organized, sustainable development and improved living conditions. This effort reflects the government's commitment to enhancing the quality of life for residents in squatting areas and supporting them in gaining secure tenure over their homes. SOCA seizes over $130 million in cash and gold in Bartica operation. The Special Organized Crime Unit, SOCU, has reported a significant seizure of over $130 million in cash and gold related to the attempted purchase of undeclared gold. This operation took place in Bartica on Tuesday. According to a SOCU press release, a coordinated intelligence operation was executed across various locations in Bartica, resulting in the confiscation of over $32 million in cash and more than $100 million in gold linked to the illicit gold trade. During the operation, SOCU arrested 3 individuals: Ian Ricardo Ferrier, also known as Blacks, Munesh Chatterpal, and Lachman Malu. The suspects are currently cooperating with ongoing investigations into gold smuggling and money laundering activities. SOCU indicated that these individuals had been under surveillance for an extended period, collaborating with both local and international partners. They are suspected of having significant connections in illicit gold trading and are thought to have links to the Mohammeds, allegedly financing and making purchases on their behalf. This operation underscores SOCU's commitment to tackling illegal gold trading and related financial crimes in Guyana. Disturbing video of assault sparks outrage and calls for investigation. HGP Nightly News reports, a disturbing video circulating on social media depicts a man, identified as Nigel, also known as One Order, violently assaulting a woman believed to be his girlfriend. The incident reportedly took place around 1 a.m. on Wednesday at Pike Street, Sofia, following a night of drinking. Witnesses claim that an argument erupted when the woman refused to leave after being asked to go home. The video footage shows the man slapping the woman and repeatedly beating her, even stomping her to the ground. In the video, he is heard stating, "I want to go to jail. Call your gunman family." Sources close to the couple indicate that the woman sought medical attention later that morning, and they allege that this is not the first instance of violence she has suffered at the hands of Nigel. Reports suggest that the confrontation intensified after the woman threw a brick at the man's car. Due to the graphic nature of the video, images posted online have been intentionally blurred to prevent further distress to viewers. Public outcry has ensued, with many demanding a thorough investigation into the incident and calling for the arrest of Nigel, also known as One Order. The community is urging law enforcement to take immediate action against domestic violence and ensure the safety of the victim. Minister Vikram Barrett provides update on PSA negotiations with CISPRO Inc. Minister of Natural Resources Vikram Barrett announced that negotiations with CISPRO Incorporated are progressing steadily, with optimism that a production sharing agreement PSA, could be finalized before the year ends. CISPRO, a company led by 4 Guyanese businesswomen, was awarded Block S3 and Block D2 during the 2023 oil blocks auction. The company is currently working to finalize its operating arrangements to meet government requirements. We have consistently expressed our desire to collaborate with CISPRO, which is why I am hopeful they can secure an operator and we can sign as soon as possible, ideally this year. Minister Barrett stated during a press briefing following the PSA signing with Ghanaian oil company Sibley Energy for shallow water Block S7. When asked about delays in finalizing the agreement, Minister Barrett explained that CISPRO needs to secure a qualified operator with the necessary technical and financial capabilities. They obviously need an operator with the kind of credentials and balance sheet required to execute the work program, as we will not sign an agreement with companies that cannot meet those standards, he added. On Tuesday, Sibley Energy became the second company to sign a PSA with the government, which included a $17 million signing bonus. Under Guyana's new oil management regime, the minimum signing bonus for shallow blocks is $10 million. Additionally, last month, a consortium of Total Energies, Qatar Energy, and Petronas signed the first PSA under the new fiscal regime for Block S4. The updated model, introduced during the 2022 licensing round, raises the royalty on oil from 2% to 10%, caps cost recovery at 65%, and adds a 10% corporate tax, while maintaining a 50-50 profit oil split after cost recovery. Minister Barrett's hopeful perspective on the CISPRO negotiations underscores the government's commitment to fostering local participation in the burgeoning oil sector. Ministry of Public Utilities engages GPL following recent power outages. The Ministry of Public Utilities and Aviation has taken proactive measures following 2 significant power outages affecting customers in Demerara and Berbice on December 9 and December 10, 2025. The first outage occurred on Tuesday, December 9, around 22:06 hours when customers experienced an interruption in electricity supply due to heavy arcing and a short circuit at the 69 kV transformer at the Kingston substation. Smoke was observed coming from the transformer panel, prompting an immediate dispatch of a technical team to investigate. The root cause was identified as a damaged cable, which was isolated to safely restore power. Incremental restoration efforts continued until all affected areas were repowered by approximately 0:30 hours on Wednesday, December 10. However, shortly after, at 11:19 hours on the same day, the 69 kV line linking the Edinburgh and Vreden Hoop substations tripped while transmitting about 15 megawatts MW of power. This sudden loss caused a cascading effect that disrupted service across the grid in Demerara and Berbice. Teams were quickly dispatched and found that the disruption was caused by the operation of heavy machinery near the transmission lines. Power was partially restored within 30 minutes, with full restoration achieved within approximately 90 minutes. The ministry highlights that the Guyana Power and Light Incorporated, GPL, has sufficient baseload generation capacity, over 250 megawatts, to meet the current demand of 210 megawatts. Nonetheless, frequent service disruptions have occurred due to heavy-duty equipment, including excavators, cranes, and cement pump trucks, operating too close to transmission lines. Recent incidents involving reckless vehicle operation have further exacerbated these disruptions, adversely affecting thousands of customers. In light of these events, the Ministry of Public Utilities and Aviation is urging all road users and equipment operators to exercise caution when working near GPL infrastructure to mitigate potential service losses. To enhance response times and service reliability, the Ministry, in collaboration with GPL, has commissioned over 30 emergency teams throughout the country to address any emergencies that may arise. The Ministry continues to work closely with GPL to ensure the reliable supply of electricity to all customers. High Court grants NISL order for possession of property from GNIC. The High Court has ruled in favor of the National Industrial and Commercial Investments Limited, NISL, granting them an order for possession of their property located at Area X, Charlestown. This decision comes after a protracted legal dispute with the Guyana National Industrial Company Incorporated, GNIC, a major operator in the country's shipping industry. In a comprehensive judgment delivered on December 10, 2025, Honorable Justice Fidela Corbin Lincoln concluded that GNIC was not entitled to renew its lease on the property, having breached critical lease obligations. As a result, the court ordered GNIC to vacate the premises and deliver possession back to NISL. Justice Corbin Lincoln's ruling also dismissed NIC's claims of estoppel and reaffirmed NISL's proprietary rights over the land and wharf facilities. The judgment noted that GNIC had failed to pay rent since at least 2010, accumulating debts exceeding $1 billion while continuing to profit from its operations. NISL accused GNIC of illegally subletting the property to companies such as TCL and Leparkin, which constituted additional breaches of the lease terms. During the proceedings, NISL was represented by attorneys at law Devendra Kissoon and Natasha Vieira from London House Chambers, who effectively argued for possession, injunctive relief, and other related orders. On the other hand, GNIC was represented by Neil Boston SC. The court determined that NIC's attempts to renew the lease could not be upheld in light of these violations and found that GNIC was not protected under the Rent Restriction Act. The court mandated that GNIC must vacate the wharf by June 12, 2026, giving them a 6-month timeline to comply with the order. This significant ruling now opens the door for the government of Guyana to proceed with plans to develop a modern port facility at one of the country's prime shipping locations, aiming to enhance the nation's trade and economic capabilities. Magistrate dismisses application by U.S. indicted businessmen Nazar and Azruddin Mohammed. Principal Magistrate Judy Lachman dismissed an application from U.S. indicted businessmen Nazar and Azruddin Mohammed on Wednesday, ruling that the constitutional issues raised had already been resolved by higher courts. The case was called at 9:30 hours for ruling, and before delivering her decision, the magistrate provided the defense an opportunity to respond to submissions made by the prosecution. She then set 11 o'clock hours for the ruling. In a firm and detailed decision, Magistrate Lachman described the application as frivolous and vexatious, labeling it an abuse of the process. She emphasized that the concerns raised had been judicially determined by superior courts. It is the court's rule that a diplomatic note is not set in stone, but a treaty agreement is binding upon the party state and must be performed by them in good faith in accordance with Guyana's Convention Law on Treaties, she stated. She further clarified that the matters discussed were not new and had already undergone adjudication, concluding, "This issue was put to rest. Extradition is a state-to-state agreement, and the individual plays no part in the contractual arrangement." Magistrate Lachman rejected the defense's reliance on older extradition case law, stating, "This court will not rely on the Dataram Authority, since that matter was dealt with prior to the Fugitive Offenders Amendment Act 2009. After thoroughly reviewing all submissions, she declared, "This court sees no basis to activate the referral article," ultimately denying the application to engage constitutional referral articles. The magistrate confirmed that the extradition proceedings would now continue in the magistrate's court. Prosecutor Terrence Williams indicated that the prosecution was ready to proceed, stating, "We are happy to move along with the case. We hope that in January, we will be able to conduct the proceeding." The court set January 6, 2026 as the date for the start of the extradition hearing, while Nazar and Azruddin Mohammed must continue reporting to the police as previously ordered. Following the ruling, defense attorney Roysdale Ford expressed plans to approach the High Court regarding the constitutional issues, stating the court had improperly exercised its discretion. He maintained that the defense approached the magistrate's court first to clear any preliminary barriers in the prosecutorial process. At previous hearings, extensive arguments were made regarding whether constitutional concerns should halt the extradition inquiry. The defense raised questions about waiting for paper committal before raising constitutional challenges and the validity of a diplomatic note from the United States. The Mohammeds remain on $150,000 bail each. The U.S. government, on October 30, 2025, requested their extradition under the treaty between Guyana and the United Kingdom, which is currently in force. The Mohammeds face multiple charges in the United States, including wire fraud, mail fraud, money laundering, conspiracy, aiding and abetting, and customs-related violations connected to an alleged $50 million gold export and tax evasion scheme. A divided opposition cannot serve the Guyanese people, VPAC. VPAC in a statement wrote, "The collective parliamentary opposition in Guyana is at a critical juncture. For the benefit of the people, opposition parties must set aside petty rivalries and personal agendas to unite for a common purpose." While parties like APNU and WIN have been active in their communities, APNU through weekly press conferences and motions, and WIN generating strong public support, division and selective focus continue to hinder meaningful change. It is essential for the Guyanese populace to recognize that real change comes through constructive engagement in parliament, rather than mere protests or shouting in the streets. A united and coordinated opposition is essential for providing the leadership the nation urgently needs. APNU stands as the most experienced faction of the opposition, hosting clear and impactful weekly briefings and addressing pressing national issues through legislative motions. Although WIN draws significant public backing, it currently lacks the experience to navigate the complexities of national leadership. Both attributes are vital and should complement one another rather than compete. Much of the critical discourse remains unaddressed due to a selective approach from the opposition, which shies away from issues that might strain historical relationships or sensitive alliances. The silence surrounding matters like the Daniel Wallace case and the extensive tax evasion scandal in the auto industry reflects this troubling trend. Avoiding such topics undermines credibility, leaving important issues unresolved and suggesting that some parties place personal loyalties above the public interest. Billions of dollars are at stake, yet personal connections overshadow pressing issues. This is not true leadership. Furthermore, the recent opposition divisions, evidenced during the Linden Regional Chairman election, only weaken the collective power of the opposition. The Vigilant Political Action Committee, VPAC, has a straightforward message. These differences must be reconciled. APNU's experience, WIN's grassroots support, and the fresh perspectives from newer movements should be harnessed collaboratively, rather than in opposition to one another. It is apparent that WIN is not yet equipped to lead independently. Thus, a unified opposition must capitalize on its strengths to emerge as a credible force for the people. Unity is not only about resisting the government. It also involves collaborating on national issues. Mere opposition without constructive engagement is not leadership. Guyana requires leaders who can hold the government accountable while also cooperating on pressing matters such as the cost of living, corruption, security, education, infrastructure, and the management of the nation's oil wealth. VPAC remains committed to its core principles, striving for truthfulness, not only to itself but to the Guyanese people. A divided opposition weakens the nation, while a united, experienced, and coordinated opposition, willing to engage on all fronts and collaborate with the government when beneficial, strengthens the country and its citizens. Guyana deserves better. The opposition must rise to fulfill this vital responsibility. PSC releases findings from 2025 election observations, declares elections credible. News source Guyana reports the Private Sector Commission, PSC, has officially released the findings from its election observer team, stating that there was no evidence of abuse of state resources or undue influence during the 2025 elections. The PSC reported that the elections were conducted in a peaceful, credible, and transparent manner. Chairman of the PSC, Captain Jerry Gouveia Jr., presented the Commission's report on Guyana's general and regional elections 2025 to the press today at the PSC Waterloo office. This presentation came one day after the report was handed over to the chairman of the Guyana Elections Commission, GECOM, Justice, Redded, Claudette Singh. While the European Union Elections Observation Mission expressed concerns about potential undue influence and abuse of state resources, Captain Gouveia emphasized that the PSC's findings were significantly different. He remarked, claims circulating in the public domain concerning the voter list, ballot secrecy, and undue influence were largely political rhetoric. The PSC observation found no evidence to support them. He further noted that the participation of the We Invest in Nationhood, WIN party leader, who contested the elections under U.S. sanctions, had no impact on the democratic rights of individuals, as these sanctions were imposed prior to his political involvement. The PSC concluded that the elections held on September 1, 2025, were credible and conducted smoothly. Gouveia reported, Election day proceeded smoothly, with polling stations opening on time, GECOM staff demonstrating high competence and impartiality, and strong representation from party agents, PPP/C, APNU, and WIN, ensuring robust multi-party oversight. He stated that both the tabulation and recount processes were found to be transparent and professionally executed. However, the PSC did highlight areas requiring improvement, including the standardization of voting booth layouts, physical accessibility at polling places, and enhancements to GECOM's public communications. These findings are based on extensive observational work conducted before, during, and after the elections. The PSC executed one of the most comprehensive domestic election observation efforts in its history, deploying 150 trained observers across regions 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, and 10, with a fully staffed Observer Coordination Center operational from August 29 to September 4. With the support of PSC member businesses and business support organizations nationwide, this mission represented the largest private sector-led observer deployment ever undertaken in Guyana.